Hey everyone, welcome to Reflections, the Wisdom of Edgar Cayce. We're coming to you as always courtesy of our broadcasting partner moretalk.tv. And joining me today on the show, I'm honored to welcome John Holland. John is one of the most respected psychic mediums and spirit messengers on the world stage. He takes his work seriously and treats it with the utmost integrity and respect. He was born with an inner sense of knowing that he was the different one in the family. As a naturally gifted psychic medium, he studied metaphysics all his life, spending 2 intensive years in England training and working with some of the top psychic mediums. He received confirmation of his special psychic abilities after a near-fatal accident when he was 30 years old, when his unique skills were amplified and brought to the surface. An educational and evidential psychic medium, John delivers his gift with a distinctive style of humor, intensity, and compassion, offering a rare insight into the actual mechanics of mediumship and what it means to be of service. You can learn more at his website, johnholland.com. John, thank you so much for joining us today on Reflections, the Wisdom of Edgar Cayce.
My pleasure. Are you kidding me? A.R.E. Foundation, I'm all over it. Love your organization. When I was developing, Brent, myself, psychically, mediumistically, top of the list was always Edgar Cayce's work.
Wonderful. Well, we're honored to have you on. We're honored to have you a part of the organization. I was wondering if maybe you can give us a little bit of background into your work with the A.R.E. and your visits to Virginia Beach.
Well, many years ago, when I was developing and then I started working professionally, the A.R.E. sought me out, and got to be honest with you, when they called, very, very excited. I was like, oh my God, the A.R.E. is calling. And you've seen, I get the Venture Inward magazine, which I recommend. I'm a member, so you can see some of the cures and remedies that Edgar Cayce did. So they've always called me to when it came to an afterlife conference or a psychic symposium. So they invited me. I've been there twice and looking forward to coming back, for this conference, the Afterlife Conference. So that's basically, I'm still involved with the Edgar Cayce. I still get the magazines and go online. And one thing about Edgar Cayce too, Brent, which I love, a lot of people have heard of Edgar Cayce and they started their own path, but I'm introducing people to Edgar Cayce's work who have never heard of him or your organization. So it works both ways fantastically.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for that. That's a wonderful gift you're giving us. Can you talk a little bit about how maybe on your personal journey you first came across the Cayce material? Was it at a young age or was it later on in your life?
Many people who are listening to this broadcast, I always start off my lectures to how many of you are the different one in your family? A lot of hands go up because I said, if you're at this conference or if you're in front of me, most likely you're the different one in the family. So I was
Right.
very intuitive as a child. And I must have come across Edgar Cayce's work in my teenage years or young adult. So basically, that's how I was introduced. And when you're doing the research, when I started to develop my own abilities, I wanted to make sure, Brent, how this ability work, what's the mechanics of psychic ability. And of course, Edgar Cayce's work came through, The Sleeping Prophet, and started reading his books, and it continued from there. So his work in the A.R.E. and Edgar Cayce, the man himself, wish I knew him. Who knows? Maybe you never know. I might meet him sometime, spiritually. But his work is like a foundation, and his work is not woo-woo. Or he was tested. His remedies that people still use. So his work gave me a solid foundation of what psychic ability is and what it's not.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, I think he did a lot to bring out the mechanics and the true purpose of psychic ability and how it all comes about. And in saying that, I want to ask you, what's kind of your unique process that you have to go through in order to kind of raise your vibrational energy in order for you to connect with spirit?
A beautiful question. A lot of people don't realize that, Brent. I call it the quickening. I have to raise my energy, those on the other side lower theirs, and then there's a blending process where I will hear, feel, and see the information. But, going back to Edgar Cayce's work in the A.R.E. too, he's all about meditation. Meditation.
Right.
So I started off you have to clear your mind to let in either psychic, because we're in such a busy world. Now everything's technology. You have to quiet that mind, slow your breath down, so you, John, the person, can get out of the way, so you recognize the psychic information that comes through. So I've been doing this for many, many years now, Brent. It's been 20 as of 2014. I don't have to go into a deep chant mantra or chant Om before I go on. What I do is I just take a breath, I open up my centers, and then I go. So it's just the thought process instead of me going into it like 10, 15-minute meditation, which I don't mind. I say a prayer before I go on or see someone,
Hmm.
and I get myself out of the way, all my stuff that's going on with me, the day, my family, whatever, and then I invite the people from the other side to step forward and to blend with me, and that's how it happens.
Wonderful. And you said you've been doing this for 20 years. So this was
Yes.
something that it seems awoken a little later in your life. What was it like when this process started to happen? You were going through these abilities, this gift that was waking up. Was it a difficult process for you learning to manage it and harness it?
It was. I was always like this as a child. Out of five kids raised Irish, Italian, Catholic, I was always the different one in the family. Um, I was the sensitive one, very colicky
Hmm.
baby. I very attached to animals. I knew things that other people didn't know. If someone was going to visit the house, or um, s- if someone was going to surprise us, and I used to play psychic games with my mother. And who would have thought? I mean, my favorite programs too. This goes to show you why I was different. My favorite programs, and some audiences would understand this who are listening. Some are too young, but I Dream a Genie, Bewitched, Dark Shadows, any ghost story, any religious movie, I was always drawn to. And so that's how it was always there. And I used to play a guessing game with my mom. Pick a number, pick a number. So little did I know that we were practicing psychic ability then. Anything that had to do with magic, I was fascinated about. So it was always there. But in society, even now, Brent, if you're a little different, and these poor kids that go through, if they're a little different, they get bullied. Same thing back in my day. I was the skinny kid with glasses, with the patch on the eye, big ears, and psychic. So I hid the ability, or just pushed it
Right.
away. And my friends, as I got older, knew that I was fascinated by metaphysics. I read metaphysics my whole life, even as a child. Like I said, anything on spirit, magic, metaphysics. So my friends, my teenage years, they used to say, "John, do that thing that you do," and I would do like a prediction or tell them something. But I never brought it out as much as I did it when I was a child. Then, 30 years when I was about 30 years old, I moved to Los Angeles. An automobile accident awoke the ability. And
Oh,
I
wow.
believe that, yeah, and a trauma can do that to you.
Hmm.
I don't know if it was a Kundalini awakening or what, but my body, which is the psychic antenna, was raised so high. Um, After the accident, I walked away, Kevin. I mean, I'm sorry, Brent. I walked away. Brent, I walked away. You can edit that, guys. Brent, I walked away from that accident. Brent, I walked away from that accident, looked at my car. The car was demolished, but I walked away. And I said, okay. And I believe that some traumas can change you. And
Hmm.
I believe in free will. And you know the expression, too, Brent, everything happens for a reason.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that saying, and I hate that saying, because I can't explain to a mother why her child was taken from her. But I really
Right.
believe that some traumas were meant to, your wake up calls, and that
Hmm.
accident was my wake up call. I looked at that car and I said, "Okay, it was a change for my. It was a time to change my life." And when I did, that's when my psychic abilities were open so much that I had this energy surging through me. Because your question is what was it like? I had like this electrical charge constantly going through me. I used to work for a hotel. I was bartending. People would walk up to the bar, and I would freak them out by telling them things that they couldn't possibly have known. Either they walked away, or I got a bigger tip. But I always recommend too, for those who's listening, I would never walk up to anyone like that now and do that. You know what I mean? But
Right.
you know,
Right.
and that's how it started. And then when it started to get really strong, once again, I went back to the mechanics. Why is this happening to me? How is
Hmm.
this happening? How do I turn it off? I have no ability having it on. How do I turn it off? So I became a real student of psychic ability. And then one thing led to another. Everyone wanted me to do readings, and I said, no, I don't want to. For 2 years, I fought it because I never want people like, why don't you? I never wanted to go back to that childhood, Brent, of being
Hmm.
called different, freak, something's wrong with you. And then the skeptics. So slowly, every so slowly, I started doing readings in Santa Monica Boulevard in LA at an aromatherapy shop, kind of where I would fit in. And 2 years into doing that work psychically, still keeping my day job, something different happened. People on the other side started coming into the reading. So I look at it as this. there's two kinds of things too, Brent. You know this. There's psychics and mediums. Every
Hmm.
everybody's psychic. You know, when you're doing a psychic reading, you're picking the information up from the person's aura, their past, their present, their potential future, from them. Mediumship is different. You're getting information not from the person in front of you, but from directly from the other side. So psychics perceive, mediums receive. Every medium is psychic, but not every psychic is a medium. I really believe that because of 2 years of doing steady readings, I must have hit another level where my aura, my energy, my consciousness reached people on the other side where they could blend with me. It took 2 years for that to happen, and then it never stopped. And then who would have thought 20 years later? I mean, here I am, doing it professionally. And if someone told me this Irish Italian kid from the ghetto would have 4 or 5 books and a radio show and television, I never would have believed it. So I believe if you're meant to do what you're meant to do, Brent, I really believe synchronistic events will lead you to it because I never
Right.
sought this out. One door opened and another and another and another. So that's how basically
Right.
how it all started. And like I said, 20 years later, here I am.
Yeah. Wow. What a wonderful
I,
story. Thank you for
I didn't mean
sharing
it to
that.
be so long-winded, but I had to get it
Oh
all in
no,
there.
no, of course. This show's yours. You can talk as long as you want. I love listening. I guess my next question would be: there seems to be a lot of interest in psychic abilities, mediumship, even in the mainstream media. So I guess it begs a question from a skeptic's point of view, maybe: what makes you a truly authentic medium?
Well, I respect that. I respect that. And I welcome skeptics. Skeptics are people, Brent, who are really saying, show me. Cynicism is
Right.
another thing. You know what I mean? A cynic, their mother could appear in front of them and they'd call it a holographic image because of the sunlight in a prism or,
Right.
whatever. I can never prove to anyone anything. All I can do is give the best evidence possible. So
Right.
if someone comes to see me, and something comes through nicknames or specific things, and they walk away saying, well, wait a minute, how could he have known that, or I really felt my mother was there, then I feel I've done my job. But when the mediumship started happening, Brent, I wanted to be good at this. I started looking at mediumship books, and everything was from England. Even though spiritualism started here in the US with the Fox
Hmm.
sisters, it took off in England. I read all these older books from mediums in their lives, and I said, oh my God, I'd love to study with these people over in England. 2 weeks after reading these books, I met someone from England and got to go over there and study for 2 years. In
Oh
England,
wow.
they train you to be an evidential medium. Evidential, meaning names, places, specifics. None of this, your grandmother's here, she has wings, she's brushing your hair. You know what I mean? I said, if I'm doing this work, because I came into it skeptical too, because remember, I was harassed as a kid. And if someone's going to be in front of me, I wanted to make sure, let me know how the person passed. Give me some names, nicknames, things about their life. So basically, to explain to a skeptic, they'd have to see me work. They really have.
Right.
They
Right.
should see me work or listen to something that I've done. And like I said, I can't prove. I know there's an after. I don't believe in an afterlife, Brent. I know there's one. Do you know what I mean? So people,
Right.
I can only give the best evidence possible, and that's why I train mediums that are up and coming now, because psychic ability is out there now, and a lot of people are their intuitive light now too, Brent, is opening. And I think when their intuitive light or their spirituality opens, too many people think I'm supposed to be a psychic or a medium. Too many
Right.
students are out there not ready to get up there and do that. And I'd rather than be ready and trained, and that's why I train people, because Brent, say you go see a medium for the first time, and that medium is not ready to be on the platform or stage, and they don't do
Hmm.
a great job, then you may think the first person there, we're all like that, and never come into a mediumship or event again. So the training is really key. But if people come see me, they usually get an idea that they could say, yes, he has something, or we think he's authentic.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I love what you mentioned there is that you're an evidential medium, meaning that you have to bring forward true sound evidence that cannot really be, you can't really go
Generalized.
against it. Which I
Right.
love that because that is a true blend of science and spirituality. That's what you're helping to bring together. So the people who are not, you know, keen to believe this type of thing, you give them what their scientific mind needs, which is a wonderful thing.
Absolutely. And I'll tell people too at my events, don't tell me anything because we're always accused of giving back answers from that people. And there are
Hmm.
times too, Kevin, I work for my publisher is Hay House. Well, we're always also accused of body language. Well, one day they were doing an online demand event, and all the lights were shut down for the audience. I had to do it all through my ear, which is clear audience. I couldn't see the audience, so I had to. And everyone, the publishers were like, "Oh my God, what do you want to do?" And I said,
Hmm.
"I'm not worried about it. I put the trust in the spirit people. They'll work it out. If they want to come through for their people, let them work it out." And sure enough, it did.
John, I want to talk a little bit about how exactly you tap into spirit. I'm sure your experience as a medium, people are always asking you to tap into, I guess, contact loved ones, I would say would
Sure.
probably be one of the more common things. Can you tell us a little bit about what the process is like making that connection with a loved one for somebody?
Okay, well, first of all, Brent, a lot of people think that I do this 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and I don't. My mom
Right.
passed away 3 years ago, and people are like, well, you shouldn't be bereaved because you can access her. Well, I use a lot of humor in my work, but it's not like this. Hello, Ma, you there? Come on in. Ma, you there? Come in, mother. It doesn't work that way. If I was getting my mom, I'm a little it's kind of hard because is it me thinking it's my mom because I'm too close to it. But
Hmm.
I only do this work when say there's an audience in front of me. I'll just take you through the process, which is why, um, at the Afterlife conference where I do Journey into the World of a Medium, I take you through it and show you. I will talk to the audience. I'll talk about psychic ability, the signs and symbols that your loved one, and I have to do some type of intro because one, I don't just walk in there and somebody raise their hand and someone says, "Is my mother with me?" It doesn't work that way. I don't call the spirit people. They come to me. All right. So I'll give a speech. And as I'm talking, that's when it starts happening. Okay. And I may feel a mother, a father, or I may get a specific piece of information and go right to somebody in the audience and say, "Do you understand this?" So it just over the years, it's changed, Brent. It really, really has. So I'll be talking, and the best way to describe this is you'll understand this. And the gentleman who's doing the recording now, right, too, Kevin, he'll understand this. Have you ever been talking to someone face to face, but yet you're thinking of something else at the same time? Yes?
Hmm. Hmm.
Right? So you're talking to the person face to face, but you're getting you're listening, you hear the person in front of you, but you think that's exactly what it's like to be a medium. I'm talking,
Right.
but I have another consciousness going on, sometimes two or three at the same time. So it takes practice to say, okay, this is not me. So basically, I will stand in front of an audience or sit with the person, and then I never know what's going to happen. That's the scary part, especially sometimes I'll do audiences of 2,000 people with my publisher. You got to be
Hmm.
accurate. And because what are you going to say
Right.
to people? I'm sorry, guys. Let's do Q&A for an hour. So
Hmm.
I just trust. It's the scary part, but yet it's the exciting part. But usually, what happens is I'll feel a father with a piece of evidence. Whether they pass from lung cancer, they may call out the person's name who's in the audience, what they do, what the person on the other side did for work. It's always different, and it's almost like someone they're blending with me, and it's called overshadowing. Not possession, but the spirit's
Hmm.
getting so close to me, I'm actually picking up their thoughts, whether they're words, feelings, or images. I'm quite strong, clairsentiently. I'll feel the age. I'll feel a mother, father. I'll feel an uncle. And people are like, well, how does it
Right.
feel to feel a father? What is that like? Well, if the audience or my students, I say, close your eyes. And then I say, feel what it's like, feel a father or a father figure. Feel a mother figure, that love, or that guidance. And that's what I feel. And I'm also strong and clairaudient where I will start getting words. And a lot of people think too, though, Brent, that when you get these words that it's in the spirit person's voice. It's in my thought. It's in
Hmm.
it's in my voice, but I know it's not me. So sometimes I love when clairaudience happens. I just repeat exactly what I'm hearing, which is really, really cool. Clairaudience is the hardest to develop because you have to say, is this my voice? Is this their voice? You understand? So that's
Right.
basically how it happens. I will hear, feel, and see the information when I'm in front of people, and it just starts happening. But basically, I prepare myself. I tell them on the other side, I'm ready. And I am the master of my mediumship. It is not the master of me. People are like, well, what do you mean, John? I don't go into a restaurant and see a lot of people that have passed away while you're eating your pasta and then walk up to you. Okay. I have trained myself to be a proper medium. You be the master of your mediumship, so it is not the master of you. Because people will say, Brent, Aren't you supposed to, if someone's coming through, some of my students at a restaurant, shouldn't you give the message? No, they're people too. They see you as a beacon. Do you understand? So
Right.
um, you can control your ability. And when I get on stage, I really leave it up to the spirit people. I really, really do. And just say, you want me to go, you want me to come to your relative? You give me the information. I kind of have this thing going with them. You know what I mean? They're people. So I talk
Right.
to them. I talk to them just like they're people. They just don't have a body.
Right. Absolutely. And I get you talked a lot about your talks that you do for Hay House, and it's a given that that's a very large audience that you're typically dealing with there. Have you
Yes.
found in your experience that it changes the energy or maybe creates a little more difficulty the larger the audience is as compared to a more intimate audience?
No, actually, it's different. When I started off many years ago with 25 people in the group, and I would get things wrong because it takes practice. I would give a piece of
Hmm.
information to someone, they're like, no, no, no. Then I'd get the email the next day saying I was sitting right behind the person. I knew exactly what you were saying. I was too afraid to get my hand up, and I've learned that. But the biggest audience, I've had audience of 3,000. Okay,
Hmm.
3,000 people. And I think my guides, and I never really talk about guides too much. They're there.
Hmm.
I know they're there for me. The bigger the audience, the more accurate the information is, Brent. So it's really cool because I think those on the other side say, "Oh, wow, all right, we got to. There's a lot of people here. Let's nail this down so we can go there exactly." So the bigger the
Right.
audience, the it seems the better uh, the mediumship, at least for me, anyway. But it took a while because you're standing in front of 2,000 people. You can't say, "Is there a John who had cancer?" You know what I mean? You
Right.
have to be specific. And then sometimes it depends too, Brent. People have to realize that it's a three-way communication. It's me, it's those on the other side, and it's the person in front of me. So it's the people in the audience or my private person, them on the other side, and me. It's a three-way communication. Sometimes some audience are with it. They get it faster. They understand
Hmm.
how it works. And other people, it's a lot of work because they take it too literally. I seem to have a
Hmm.
lot of problems sometimes. There's one event that I do in a state nearby here. No matter how many times I'm there, I don't know if they're scared or
Hmm.
if they're I try to tell them, look, guys, they're people on the other side are trying to get your attention, whether it's a symbol or a sign, but it depends on the audience. If I have a great audience, it raises the energy of the room. And that's why I use a lot of humor also. I know it's not funny losing a loved one, but if you're raising the vibe of the room, it helps the communication even better. And besides, when I use my sense of humor, those on the other side want us to be happy. We're the ones that are still here that need to go on. They want us to be happy. And how great it is when I see a mom laughing for the first time in months since she lost a child. And some people feel guilty, Brent, when they're laughing. You know, some
Right.
people, and mediumship is not a cure for bereavement. When I see this in the audience, but it can help a little. But some people don't want to let go of even of the bereavement, Brent, because they feel by
Right.
letting go of their bereavement, they're letting go of the person, when in fact they're not. So,
Right.
yeah.
Right. And I think that I would assume stems a bit from just a general misunderstanding about the afterlife and about how the process goes, what's going on over there. And I guess that begs a question from your experience with connecting, breaking through the veil and connecting with the spirit world. What is going on, I guess, typically on the other side? What are the,
Great question.
yeah, the people that you're connecting with? What are they doing on the other side? I'm sure that's a question everyone's curious about.
Oh, that's a great question. And I can only go by what they're telling me. Yeah.
Hmm.
So I've had grandmothers say, "Just tell her I'm on my porch, just looking at my garden." I've had a father, a grandfather come through and say, "Just tell him I'm fishing as usual." And so, is there boats and fish? And then I got an email from the woman. Wait a minute, is he's fishing? You mean he's killing fish on the other side? I'm like, and I'm like, are they really fish? Are they, or is it the spirit of? I don't know. And it reminds me of the movie too, Brent, by that Robin Williams was in. Bless him. What dreams may come, and you can
Yeah.
have whatever kind of world you want over there. Okay, but I've had children tell their mother, "Tell my mom I'm back at school." And the mother will say, "Oh my God, he passed while he was just about to graduate." I've had kids come through that have passed from drug overdose who's saying they're helping other children.
Oh
Um,
wow.
I've had kids that were in wheelchairs tell my mother I'm running the bases now in a baseball field. So I really think they're not floating on the cloud. You have to remember, Brent, and everyone who's listening, the spirit world is the real world. This is
Right.
temporary. Do you understand?
Right.
We are a soul that comes with a body, not a body that comes with the soul. You're a soul long before you incarnated in this life. You'll be a soul long after you leave this vessel. So it's
Right.
basically I think you can do whatever you want over there, in a positive way, but I can only go by what they've told me that they're doing over there. There's schools over there, and there are some mediums that have died, their heart stopped and gone over and got came back and said what they saw. I don't need to
Mhm.
do that. I don't want to do that, and I don't have to do that. I'd rather them just tell me, and I'll see for myself for sure when it's my time.
Right.
Yeah,
Absolutely. It's a beautiful thought because it's if you whatever you're passionate about and you love so much, you don't get the opportunity to fully pursue it in this lifetime. It sounds like you get that opportunity in the afterlife.
absolutely. Yes, and I know too. Say, for instance, too. Here's a little heavier subject. A lot of people that help themselves cross over, Brent, if you know what I mean. They help themselves cross over, whether they did an overdose or if there was some type of suicide. I don't
Mhm.
believe they're burning in hell, but it's funny with me at least. For me, I can only refer to me, myself and my work. People that have taken their lives, they never come through alone. It's always
Mm.
with another person who has gone on before them or that has joined them, which I feel or I think means that they're going through some type of healing. They don't have enough energy to come through themselves. So the person who else is over there, whether it
Right.
be a grandmother, a father, a brother, or uncle, seems to give them the extra energy to communicate with the people that are here. Yeah.
Right.
They say there's hospitals over there and healing, and like I said, we'll all know eventually, though, won't we, Brent?
Yeah, absolutely.
Many
And I
years
think
from
it's
now.
yeah. Well, I guess it begs a question about something that's very near and dear to me over the years has been dream work. And I had a
I,
personal experience recently during the holiday season where I spent some very intimate moments with my grandmother, getting to connect with her. And then my grandfather passed away years ago, and he had not really I hadn't had him come through too much after he passed away, and I always wondered why that was. But I had this moment where I connected with my grandmother, and she that the day after we went our separate ways that night, my grandfather came to me in my dream and showed me some important stuff and explained what he was doing on the other side. So I guess I want to talk a little bit about your experience with dream work and how we all can make a connection with our loved ones through our dreams.
Absolutely. There are many, I call these calling cards from heaven. Okay.
Yeah.
Dream, an ADC, an after death communication. Dreams are the number one way that those on the other side come through. Not every dream you have of your past loved one, if you're crying or they're crying or there's some type of trauma, that's not one of those dreams. In the dreams, they're younger. It's a fast dream, it's a positive
Hmm.
dream. And
Yeah.
that's the number one way because then your consciousness could take a back break. But I love dream work. Jungian symbolism, Carl Jung's
Hmm.
work, Kevin
Yeah.
Todeschi's work, dreams. If he has to watch his Amazon sales because every book I recommend is the Encyclopedia of Dreams and Symbols by Kevin Todeschi.
Yeah.
He was on my radio show, so I encourage dreams. I recommend people do the dream work. Keep
Yeah.
a dream journal. Write your dream down before your foot touches the floor. Okay, and learn how dreams work in symbols. Kevin taught me that a house is you. Not just about a house in the dream. The levels of the house could be your physical,
Right.
emotional, mental. If you're in a car in your dream, you're pushing on the brake and it doesn't work, it means to slow down in your life. Or if there's a
Right.
flood in your house, where you being overwhelmed, with this too. So
Right.
DreamWorks, working with your dreams, fantastic, because your soul's trying to come through your dreams. Your loved ones are trying to get your attention through dreams. But what we do sadly though, Brent, is we disregard it and say, God, I had this crazy dream, when in fact it could be a huge resource of information. So watch your
Absolutely.
dreams and invite your loved ones to come in and say, Mom, Dad, I'm ready, because they'll take their cues from you. I'm ready. Show me a sign. Come into my dream, please.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you raised some great points in that it's so important to keep a dream journal and stress the importance of these dreams because as you do that, not only do you discover your own symbolism more and more as you do it, but it also starts to amplify how vivid the dreams are because in some way you're connecting with your subconscious mind and you're letting it know that hey, I want things to come through, I want guidance, I want communication. So it picks up on that and assists you in that.
Absolutely. Your loved ones are just a thought away. They still hear
Yeah.
your thoughts. So, you don't need a medium for it.
John, I want to talk about kind of a little more of the macro perspective here. There seems to be a growing interest in the spirit world and the realm of psychic energy as of late. Is this possibly due to a thinning of the veil at this time, or are there other factors contributing to it, in your opinion?
So you're saying that there's more interest in the spirit world because you think that there's a thinning of the veil you just said?
Yeah, what is your experience with this? It seems like everyone is there's kind
I
of this
know.
movement of people very interested in psychic energy, metaphysics, anything involving that kind of realm, that field of interest.
You know what I think it is too, Brent, really? I don't know about the thinning of the veil, although, you know, like I said, just my opinion is I think we're ready for it.
Right.
I think that's what it is. I think that more and more kids now are being born psychically awake, or, so I think people's consciousness are being raised, and people say, well,
Right.
why now? And I say, why not? It's about time.
Mhm.
And a lot of people say, well, isn't time speeding? As you get older, it does speed, So I really believe that I think people's consciousness are opening up, and with television and movies, people are becoming more aware and less afraid of it. Do you know what I mean? And that's why
Right.
it's very important to. And if you ever see me work, um, you know. I'm quite down to earth about this. I don't come floating out on the stage. I'm just a guy in jeans and a t-shirt, and well, not on stage, but and I'm approachable. And I really think that it's the mediums that are out there now, the reputable ones. We're showing people, look, it's okay.
Right.
But you know what, too? I really believe that a lot of people's spiritual life lights are being turned on, or their consciousness, Brent. But I always want to tell people to remember, if your spiritual light is being turned on, that's fantastic. But remember, you're also a physical being. Don't go all spiritual, 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 workshop, 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 workshop. From one healing workshop to a psychic development workshop to a Reiki workshop to Ascended Masters workshop to a Remember, you're a physical being too. It has to be 50-50. When I started to develop, I was so into this work, I would be forgetful. And it's all about your energy centers too in your body, balancing them all. So remember, I'll tell my students, if you're becoming too sensitive because of your psychic ability, then go walk your dog. Then go
Right.
clean your tub or go to the beach or something, So it's 50-50. Enjoy being human. You're a soul having human experiences. So,
Right. That's wonderful advice. Thank you.
right.
Cayce is quoted as always stressing the importance of service in our life. And I want to talk to you a
Absolutely.
little bit about how important, I know you share in this, about how important it is to be of service in your life. And what has this meant to you over the years?
And that's how they look at it in England too, Brent. It's you're not doing a psychic demonstration. They call it a service, and I
Right.
am a service for the spirit world and those here. And I'm a piece of equipment. I am of service, and I always remember that. And that's why with the popularity that I have the opportunity to give back. I so
Right.
give back, okay, with the service. A lot of people don't know what I do publicly. I mean, behind the scenes, whether a parent sees me, I see a parent in pain, I'll say, just come see me, no charge. And I really don't see private clients anymore per se. But if I see the need, I will be of service, and that's why I'm service to animals. I'm a big advocate ever since I got my dogs, Coda, 7 years ago. I never knew that one dog could change my life. And I got an event this Sunday coming up. And after this event, Brent, we did a fund in his name that helps animals get operations if they're brought into the NHSPCA. So over the couple of years that I've been doing this, I helped raise $50,000. So for these animals.
Wow.
So, and it is about, I don't want anything. It's a being of service. And a lot of people say
Right.
to me, John, what's my purpose? And they'll call into my radio show on Hale's Radio and say, what's my purpose? Well, it's not a question you really can answer in 90 seconds. I believe that your purpose is to be a divine being from God, helping others with your gifts, talents, and abilities in helping others. My sole purpose is not to be a medium or to be an author. My sole purpose is to be all that I can be using my gifts, talents, and ability. And my gift of
Right.
mediumship or my books is me trying to fulfill my purpose of being all that I can be. Yeah. So
Right.
you are
Absolutely.
of service to people. Without the spirit world or the people in front of me, I wouldn't be doing this work, Brent. Right? And I'll often joke with the audience, thank you for letting me be of service to you in the spirit world, because if you weren't here in front of me, who would I be talking to? So yeah,
Right.
yes.
Absolutely. That's wonderful. I want to talk a little bit about we talked about this growing interest in metaphysics and psychic energy in the spirit world, and in saying that, I think there's a lot of misunderstandings. There's a lot of information out there, and people don't really know what to believe. I was wondering if you can briefly tell us about one of these topics that seems to be of large interest, kind of the difference between spirit guides and angels or the angelic realm, and the role that they play in our lives, both in your personal experience and what you see with the people that you work with.
Easy. That's a good question. Angels have never incarnated in human form, where spirit guides have been in some type of, well, they've been in human form. Probably in a past life with you, I've been always drawn to Tibet. Now, I'm a kid from Boston, Massachusetts, in the ghettos. What do I know about Tibet? But yet, when I
Right.
was a child, I was always fascinated by the Hare Krishnas. In Boston Commons, I'd see these guys and bald guys with some chalk marks on their third eye, wearing gold, and my brothers and sisters would be swimming at the man-made pond, and I'd be over there chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So I've always been fascinated, and I used to dream of men in gold robes as a child, bald. And so as I got older, I was drawn to Tibet. Never had the chance to go there. Then when I went to England, Coral Polge, who was a psychic artist, where they draw the spirit for you. She had a pad of paper, and I was at the SAGB in England, and luckily enough, got an appointment. And she said to me, "You know, you're gifted, don't you, dear?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "I'm bringing through this guide." And as soon as she turned the paper around, there was this Chinese man, Tibetan Chinese man, or Tibetan, in gold robes and bald. So I'd be at an event when I was a student, and a medium would come to me and say, "You know, you have a Tibetan with you, don't you?" So I always recommend to people, try to get to know your guide for yourself instead of
Mhm.
being told who he is. But I couldn't disregard her drawing one in multiple mediums. It was never a nun and never a priest, never a cowboy, never an Indian. It was always the Tibetan monk. So
Right.
guides are there for you, but they're not here to run your life, though, Brent. A lot of people put too much emphasis on them. They're here to guide you, to teach you. They're not here to tell you what kind of lettuce to pick out, or what kind of um, you know, they can't interfere with your karmic lessons. And when I was studying mediumship in England, all these books that I read, my guide came to me and gave me a lessons in clairvoyance. My guide appeared to me and said he's been with me for this lifetime and the last time. And another book, my guide came to me and told me, well, I was a little confused because I was waiting for this. After reading those books, I really thought that it would be like this. "Hello, John. I'm your guide Abdul. I've been with you for thousands of years." And it wasn't. It didn't
Right.
happen until I went into a mediumship circle, which is great training, sitting with other mediums and a lead medium who would watch what's happening with their with the people in the group or the circle. That's when I felt my guide. I felt like this warmth across my shoulder. I started feeling color. So that's when I was properly introduced that way. But if you're expecting a deep voice from in a different accent to come to you out of in the air, not likely. Um, but angels, I said I believe in them, but I really believe that it's true. They haven't never incarnated where guides have. And there was a part
Right.
two to that question too. I believe you asked Brent. Was there?
Yeah, it was I was just kind of how they play out the role in your life. What, what you kind of touched on. What role do they play in your life? How are they, what can you expect to get from them? But yeah, I mean, I think you really touched on that great when you said that you still have your free will, which is the ultimate determining factor.
Right, and your guides try to get your attention all the time. It could be that still voice.
Right.
You many times too. For anyone who's listening, this has happened to all of us. Okay, if you drive, Brent, have you ever been driving down the highway, freeway, and in your head you hear "slow down"? Has that ever happened to
Yes.
you?
Yes.
Okay, is it your mind? Is it your soul? Is it your guide? Who knows? But all I know is if you're hearing "slow down" out of the blue, slow down. I
Right.
did it once, and sure enough, there was either a cop car or a deer, in the
Hmm.
road too, though. So
Hmm.
it in you can ask your guide too, how will I know? What is your symbol for I know when you're around? Is it a color? Is it a symbol? I usually see the number 419, 914, 194 before I get on stage. That's my clue. I used to thought it meant play that lottery number, okay?
Right.
But it didn't mean that, trust me. And I don't look for that number. I'm not superstitious where I try to find 419 or I won't get on. I just notice as I'm going to an event or if I'm at one, that number pops up. That could be their calling card to me, you know? And your loved
Right.
ones and your guides, they do have their calling cards. You have to ask them when you get quiet, how will I know you're around me? They'll tell you, or you'll feel it, a warmth. You may feel a kiss. You may feel your hand being held. Everybody is different. But I think
Right.
you should try to get your guide for yourself as opposed to somebody telling you who it is.
Right.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
just my opinion.
Wonderful. Yeah. And I want to talk about your upcoming conference. It's going to be in June of 2015. That'll be here in Virginia Beach. And it's the fifth annual Afterlife Conference. And I was wondering if you could tell all of our listeners what exactly they can expect for if they were a conference attendee, what your presentations will be like.
Well, I find it amazing that first of all, let's talk about that really quickly. An afterlife conference. I mean, come on. I mean, it's there's many speakers there. I'm doing 3 events. Journey into the world of a medium, where I'm going to explain how I work, how I open up, and I'm a teaching medium, Brent. So every time I get a piece of evidence, I usually tell the audience, and they get it. They understand
Right.
it, so they understand how a medium works. And then I'm doing a pre-conference called awakening your soul senses. Um,
Hmm.
because I really believe that each one of us is gifted in our own way, whether you're clairsentient to feel, clairaudient to hear, or clairvoyant to see. So I believe, I teach people what work with your senses, and then that's a fun workshop. I love doing that. And then there's going to be a meet and greet opportunity. But like I said, I'm just one of the many speakers there, and I'm honored if you come see me. But at every event that I do, I always end, and people will get this, I always end with a mediumship demonstration so I can incorporate what I just taught in showing you how it works as a medium, because you may have that you might have that student medium out there who will say, I want to do it. The way I work, I saw a medium work in England, and I saw many mediums, and I said, oh, I love that. And I'm not telling people to emulate anyone else, but it could help you, and maybe you get that message. I can never guarantee who's going to get a message, but maybe by coming to the conference, because God knows I'm not the only medium there. There's a
Right.
few of us, including my pal Suzanne Northrup. Um, Maybe you're going to be at the right place at the right time. And not only that, too, Brett, it's not just about getting a message. People are going to walk out of there with an education. So if they
Right.
don't get a message, they're going to get some type of knowledge, some type of education, and they get to meet a lot of us too at these events. And I have no problem. I'm very approachable, and I love this. But I think it's so cool, so awesome. And the fifth annual Afterlife Conference. If somebody said this years ago, there's a conference about the afterlife, but now we're ready for something like this. Do you know what I mean? We're
Right.
ready for something like this. So I think it's totally cool. But yeah, discovering your soul senses, a journey into the world of the medium, and I'm on June 4th and June 6th, and it's quite a what is it, like a 3-4 day weekend. So I think
Yep.
it's
It's
going
a
to be
full
pretty
weekend.
pretty awesome. And when I'm
Yeah.
not on stage, I'm going to be at some of these. There's a ton of speakers. I will be at some of these speakers too because I'm there as a student too.
Yeah. Absolutely. And we'll make sure that we give our listeners all the information at the end of the show to register for that and be here in Virginia Beach to share in that experience with you.
Yeah, and what a perfect place for it, Virginia Beach.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I wanted to touch on one last thing. We've been talking about how there is this growing interest in metaphysics and all things involving psychic energy, mediumship, and I wanted to talk a little bit about the role of karma and just how does the role of karma play into the afterlife and your ability to harness your psychic energy.
Well, there's karma and there's destiny. Okay,
Okay.
I really believe that. I believe karma for me with that accident was meant to happen. Destiny is which way I took it. Now, you
Right.
get into an automobile accident, you have a choice. That's the free will part. I could have complained and said, I don't have a car anymore, or take it the other way, make a positive change. But it's kind of hard it's a tough question, karma and destiny. But um, when it comes to karma, I really believe that what you put out, you get back. I
Right.
really, really do. And I'm a good person because a lot of people will say, aren't you nervous about doing this work? What you're going to attract? And Brent, I'm not at all. I've never had an evil entity attach themselves to me because I believe what you put out, you get back. I try to help, with the Christ light and work with God. And what I put out, you get back. And I only seem to attract the good spirits anyways, and I don't believe in the bad ones, or at least I've never come in contact with them. But that's a very good question though, and you got to ask yourself, karma or destiny? Is it karma for something to happen? Yes, but what's the destiny part of it? It's always a free will
Right.
choice, always a free
Right.
will choice, my friend.
Love that. Thank you. Well, John, it's been an honor to have you on the show today, and we look forward to seeing you in Virginia Beach at the Afterlife Conference. And thank you so much for giving us time out of your day to talk to us about all these wonderful topics.
Please, I'm honored. Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us on Reflections, John.
Thank you.
Don't miss your chance to see John in person at the 5th Annual Afterlife Conference, taking place here in Virginia Beach from June 4th through the 7th. You can register by visiting their website at afterlifeconference.com, or you can find the links provided on John's website at johnholland.com. On behalf of everyone here at the Association for Research and Enlightenment and moretalk.tv, I'm your host, Brenton Bickerstaff, reminding you that we are all psychics. Like any skill we wish to strengthen, we must put in the time and effort to connect with our inner psychic intuition. As both Cayce and John clearly put, we are capable of harnessing our inner guidance for health, happiness, and service to others. Thank you so much for tuning into Reflections, the wisdom of Edgar Cayce today. Hope everyone has a wonderful week, and I'll see you next time. And now it is time for the thought for the day here on Reflections. And joining me as always is Dr. Bill Austin. Bill, thank you so much for joining us on Reflections today.
Oh, my pleasure, Brent. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. And if you can go ahead and read the thought for the day for our listeners today.
I'd be happy to. This comes from reading 2905-3. Man looks upon the outward appearance. God looks upon the heart. The gain or retardment is according to the purpose, the cause for such activities being a part of an entity's experience. I think we're back to our judgment of ourselves or our judgment of the situation, what we think is going on. And what's more important is what Cayce is talking about, where God is looking. God is looking at our heart. What's our intent? What's our purpose? And that is what comes to judgment. Not so much our effort, but what's our intent? I know working with patients on a day-to-day basis, sometimes I think my intent to help them is stronger than what I actually do for them. It's nice when the two are in sync, and We're always trying to do that. But it really comes down to what's my intent of the action that I'm doing, whatever that action is. I think that's what gets judged or taken into account on a day-to-day basis, on a moment-to-moment basis.
Right. Absolutely. It's wonderfully said. The thing I love about this reading is the first part of it is really poetic, and I think that happens a lot in the Cayce material, and especially some of the later readings that he was doing. When it says man looks upon the outward appearance, God looks upon the heart. To me, that's incredibly poetic, and I think it's so incredibly profound because of just how true it is. It goes on to say the gain or retardment is according to the purpose, which I think you touched beautifully on. It really is our intention when we do things, and what we're holding in not just our mind but in our heart. We do a lot of things throughout the day, and I think they all have the potential to be incredibly powerful things and touch people's lives if we have the intent. I think what Cayce said, to be of service. That's a very important intent to have. Not having those selfish needs, and of course, as we've talked about in the past, trying not to be so attached to the results. Because if you're being of service, you just have to know that that service, that place that you're coming from, is a place to be of help, a place that's coming out of patience, a place that's coming out of love. And when you have that place that you're coming from, it makes what you're doing, whether it's smiling, holding a door for somebody, or going out of your way and dedicating your whole entire life to an ideal-driven purpose, it makes it that much more powerful. And I
Yeah.
think this reading really, really hits that on the head.
Well said. I agree. No, it is a beautiful
Thank
reading.
you. Thank you.
Beautiful.
It is, absolutely. Well, Bill, thank you so much, as always, for joining us on the Thought for the Day here on Reflections. It's always an honor and pleasure to deal in this with you.
Oh, it's been great. Thank you for having me, Brent. I really appreciate it. Have a great day.
Of course. You too. Thank you.